Hi, we're gonna do a bit of a vlog today because I have a lot to get done. I'm trying to pre-record some videos because I am having surgery. And don't mind my emotional support water bottle. So I have a lot to get done in here. And even though it is winter, I am channeling all of my stress and anxiety about this surgery into a very long to-do list. At least it feels kind of long to me right now, of silly little things that I want to get done in the garden before I'm kind of out of commission for a little bit. I did get diagnosed with endometriosis. You actually can't officially diagnose endometriosis without actually having surgery because they can't see it on any imaging or blood work or anything like that. So the surgery is to diagnose it, but if they do find it, they're going to excise it. They're going to cut it out because it is causing me a great deal of pain and infertility. So we're hoping that this solves a lot of problems that have been haunting me and plaguing me for a while now. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that while we're kind of working on what we need to work on today. It's very cold. Even in the greenhouse, it's only about 10 degrees warmer in the greenhouse than it is outside, and it's like 30 degrees outside. So most of what we need to work on is in the greenhouse, but it is the warmest part of the day. And there's a couple things I want to attempt to do outside before it gets any colder. So we're going to try to take care of those first. Although I have a feeling they're not going to go to plan because the ground is like frozen solid. Like I just decided when the ground was frozen solid that I need to dig some stuff up. So we're gonna grab the shovel, we're gonna see what we can do out there, and then we're gonna try to warm up in here because look at this. I added this cute little electric heater that looks like a fireplace. The flames are really dim on it. They look really cute at night, but during the day it's kind of like not very obvious, but it actually warms up this space really fast. I really don't want to go outside. I have to sweep in here so badly. That's another problem though. We got our shovel. We're gonna see if this can break through the frozen crust. I did plant some scallions under this row cover here in the greenhouse, but I was like, why didn't I try to transplant some walking onions? Because that would be so nice to have earlier in the season. And now I'm thinking the ground is probably frozen where they're planted because I tried to pull up some leeks in the raised beds last night, and that did not go well either because the ground was frozen. But the raised beds, because they're elevated, they tend to freeze faster. So I'm hoping maybe it's just like a 2-inch crust of frozen around the walking onions and we can pull some of them out. This is promising because there's still some green. Ow, that's thorns. Okay. Some of this green is grass though, and that is a piece of the fence. I don't know, these thorns look like raspberries. Try to find the base. Oh, it's not frozen. It's not bad at all. There's one. It kind of looks frost damaged though. I'd like to get a good clump. There's another. See how resilient these are. I'm just gonna grab this right here. It's a good little clump. That'll do. It's so icy. That's all ice. Very slippery out here right now. I am actually going to attempt to grow real onions next year, but if you're looking for a low maintenance way to grow onions in your garden, I always recommend growing walking onions because they completely take care of themselves. They're, I believe, native to this area. You mostly just eat the green part of it. It does produce these kind of, it's like a reverse of an onion. That's why they're called walking onions. They produce these bulbules that look like tiny little baby onions on the top of these, which normally they're like this tall. Of course, they're kind of not right now. And it gets so heavy that it weighs itself down and tips over. And when it tips over, it replants that bulbule in a new spot, which is why they're called walking onions. So they plant themselves, literally. They're one of the first things that comes up in the spring, which is so exciting. And I'd imagine in warmer climates, they don't ever really go away. I mean, even here we've had multiple frosts. It's been down in the teens overnight and they're still going. So I think even unprotected in the greenhouse, they'll take right off. I should have pre-watered this potting mix because it's very hydrophobic and dry right now. I just thought it would be nice to have some more flavors in the garden this winter because a lot of the times what we can grow, it's more stuff that's like greens or root vegetables. And onions overall, like all the leeks and scallion type onions, they don't mind the cold really. So it'll be just nice to have a little bit more variety. I'm not doing anything special with these. This is just some fresh potting mix. I don't know if I have water because we've shut off all the outdoor hoses and the rain barrel's probably frozen. I should have put it in the basement, but I didn't. So I'm gonna see if the rain barrel is accessible and try to get this watered. Please ignore the green stalks. I completely forgot to cover them. There's a lot going on right now. I do have new seedlings in the basement that I'm gonna try to put in the green stalk and cover them for January and February, which we have to water those too. Oh, still not frozen, thank goodness. I thought even if the whole thing wasn't frozen, the spigot at least would be, but it doesn't look too bad. It's probably good. I'll let that kind of soak for a minute. In the basement, again, ignore the mess. These are my secret seedlings. Oh, it's so chaotic down here. I love it. They actually look really... Did I water these and totally forget I already watered them? Oh my God, I must have. See, I'm so scatterbrained right now. Didn't label any of this, but it's a good thing I came down here because this light has fallen. I know you were all wondering where I stored all my pumpkins for the year, so now you know. I ended up on these wire shelves because we still had, even after selling like tons on the side of the road, we still had so many. Okay. I really like jury-rigged this system, and it is made with jute, which breaks very easily. Although this hasn't happened to me yet, so I'm surprised it did now, and these are just sitting here, not exposed to the weather or anything. That could have been, whoa, really bad. Darn it. I neglect my seedlings fairly regularly because I'm not in the basement every day, so it's like not a priority for me. I hope this holds. I actually planted those very impulsively. I did not plan it at all, and I really should have fertilized them the last time that I watered, and I didn't, but they survived. This looks like it's done draining. Hardly any water coming out the bottom, so I think we put the right amount in. But we'll just put this on a plastic tray inside. So it's staying fairly warm in here, like all things considered, but opening and closing the door a whole bunch is not great. But I want to check on the plants. I don't think they need to be watered. Honestly, I probably water like once a month this time of year because it's not hot enough that their water is evaporating, and they're not growing very fast because of the reduced daylight hours. So they just don't need as much. Well, everything's looking pretty good. Look at that lettuce. All my lettuce outside is gone, and I have tons in here. This one, oh, more of the same. Good stuff. It's taking its time though. So I need to find a place to put the walking onions. It's such a mess in here, you guys. Like I keep having just enough energy to film or do the project and not enough energy to actually clean up afterwards. So all the piles of like previous projects are like piling up, which is really overwhelming me because I know once I have the surgery, I'm probably not gonna be able to come out here at all for like a couple of weeks. I think I'll make room on here for the onions. Visual clutter makes me really anxious. And I'm already really anxious. So that just makes me more anxious. This is still dripping. These water hog mats though, like it's pretty incredible how much water they hold. Like they live up to the name for sure. These are some bulbs that I didn't finish planting. These can go in the apothecary. This stuff can go in this basket. Oh man, I really wanted to have like a good cleanup day in here. I still have time. So my surgery is actually on New Year's Eve, which of course it is. Like that's just how my year has honestly gone. But it was that, or like we'd be in a new insurance cycle and it was gonna cost like a lot more money to do it in January. And plus with like how seasonal my work is, it just made a lot more sense to get it done as soon as possible, because it could mean that I'm not able to do a lot for up to like 6 weeks. I'm hoping it's less than that, but because they don't know how severe it is, like how far it's spread in my body, they're not gonna know until they go in like how intense of a surgery they're gonna do. Still dripping. I had to find something to put under this. The shallow 10-20 trays from Epic, super duper sturdy. I use them for all my seed starting. And they almost fit perfectly there. Okay, then we deal with this. So I'm very much just trying to focus on my health right now, focus on like really taking care of myself, staying hydrated, eating healthy foods, being like rested and relaxed so that I can hopefully recover as quickly as possible. But my anxiety is definitely, it feeds off of like uncertainty and unknowns. And there's just so many uncertainties and unknowns with this that is really hard for me to relax. I don't even know if these are salvageable. Like, have they haven't started sprouting, it doesn't look like. Do I just try to throw them in a container? They're kind of squishy and dried out, honestly. I think these leftovers are gonna have to go in the compost. I don't know if I've shown you guys this recently. These are the snap peas, the burgundy snap peas growing up. It's finally made it to the cross tie. How cute is that? Oh my God, there's snow on the greenhouse and a blue sky and beautiful green vines. And there's even little snap peas on them ready to harvest. All my snap peas outside are obviously very dead by now because it's so cold. It was really cool. I feel like I get to like hack nature in here and try things out and keep things going longer. I mean, that's what a greenhouse is for, but it's just cool to see it actually working. I feel like I'm complaining about messes and then just making even bigger messes. Oh, I missed this one. Gotta pop that in. I never finished decanting those herbs that I was showing you guys because that's just how scatterbrained I am right now. I think I will just pour these into here and then dump it in the compost. Maybe something will come up in the compost. Who knows? I hate that they ship these in these plastic bags. It feels totally unnecessary. Like, why can't you just use paper? Seriously, so hard to stay hydrated. The bigger container definitely helps me in the straw, and I put like powdered or crystallized lemon in it, and I have these hydration drops. A lot of the hydration drops have like so much extra stuff in them, so I don't like to use them, but I found one that has like no extra junk. It's not sweetened or either, so it has no flavoring, so it kind of just has like a weird like licorice taste, which I don't love. It's not like the worst, but it's just I don't like that flavor personally, so that's why I do the lemon too. And it just makes me drink it a little bit faster, which if you have any kind of chronic illness, you know how important hydration is. There's just baskets everywhere. Like, hang this back up. All right, now the table. There is a reason why I've just got like bunches of dried plants everywhere. I had this whole plan. I'm really hoping I have energy to do it in the next couple weeks before my surgery, where I was going to create like a dried floral chandelier. What's the difference? Is a candelabra just candles? Probably. Chandelier, dried chandelier to hang from that hook that we had the swinging chair on, because it's just like, why is there a hook in the ceiling? So I thought if I got one of those grapevine forms and then hung dried flowers from the garden off of it, that would be really pretty. Some of these things now just need to go away so that I cannot be so stressed about looking at them. The corn was never going to be a part of the chandelier anyway. So we'll just put this in one of my drawers. I don't want these inside, so I can like write and plan when I'm doing my recovery. So I'm not gonna be able to film it all, so I'll just be brainstorming and planning how next year is gonna be so amazing, going into it fully reset, hopefully in less pain than I've been. Those are the binders where I do like all of my layouts and garden planning layouts and stuff. I've been doing a lot more of it on the iPad because I tend to change things so much. And I think this year I'm actually going to be helping one of my best friends design her first garden because she just bought a house, and that might be something I'll work on while I'm recovering too. These I specifically wanted for the chandelier, so I don't know what to do with this. I don't know, I've just put it like that. So at least it's still a pile, but it's an organized pile. Sometimes that's the best we can do. But even just clearing up this herb dust is gonna make a big difference. Of course, I'm gonna make another big herb mess because I told you guys I was gonna process that human-sized bunch of mugwort. So we're gonna work on that today too. Like, how satisfying is this? Just straightening everything. Can still be piles everywhere. They just need to be neat piles. I should really take those down. Those ones don't look like they did anything. Ooh, they're very like soft, but they're not. That's so weird. Why are those ones not as wrinkly as those ones? And I really needed the ladder to get up there because everyone yells at me when I stand on there's a little stool that I'm not supposed to stand on. Okay, someone else tell me what to do about this. Like, they're not moldy. They're just drying so slowly because it's not hot in here anymore. Should I take them down and put them in the dehydrator, or does it not matter? Are they gonna freeze in here and get ruined? Oh my God. I think I should just take them down. I really love stuff like hanging from the cross ties. I don't want to take it down. But I don't want it to get ruined. That's like most of my cayens from this whole summer. All right, I've been putting it off, but we have to deal with this. So I hadn't like thought this through at all. Like, it is really hard to process large quantities of things without making a huge mess. And it's also gonna take me a really long time. So I'm gonna try to make this interesting. Don't leave, don't leave. We're gonna make this interesting. But I'm basically gonna try to just have 2 trays. I'm not gonna separate like the flower part and the leaf part. I'm just gonna try to get them both off of the stem. We need a couple other things though. This is like a really woody stem and our hands are probably dry because it's winter. We're gonna use some gloves, even though it's gonna make our dexterity worse. Why am I so intimidated by this bundle? I think I'm just gonna cut. I don't want to like undo the whole bundle, so I'm just gonna cut stems and work with like 1 stem at a time. Look, that's 1 stem. 1 stem has like 80 separate stems off of it. That is just so overwhelming to me. It's gonna do our best, and then we're gonna vacuum. Just gonna try doing this first. So different like plants obviously have different like anatomy. It's easier to kind of manipulate them one way or another. And I don't necessarily want the seed pods off of this plant. It's not gonna be harmful, but it's just not like as potent and high quality. It's not the part of the plant that we need. It's not gonna hurt us, but if we leave it on, it's just kind of making it seem like there's more than there is. So I'm not gonna try super hard to get that part off, especially since it's not coming off. Like, I could individually run each of these stems through my little colander or something else with holes in it. I've seen people use a cheese grater, but I don't want to. I don't want to. And I think you're gonna be kind of shocked by like how little actual herb we end up with off of these. Like, this huge bundle, and we're not even taking the leaf parts of it. This is really hard to do with a glove on. So when we're working with like such a bulk amount and we're trying to do it by hand, like, we have to accept that we're not getting like perfection here. Like, that is all seed. I should have picked this way earlier. So literally off of 1 branch, this is what we got. It's not much, but I'm one human. Like, I don't really need that much. I'm not doing this on like a commercial scale right now. I just wanted some mugwort, so no big deal. So I don't know how much I talked about this on YouTube yet. I have a video going up on Instagram. I don't know if it'll probably already be up by the time you see this. A big part of why I've always talked about my arthritis on the internet is because I felt really alone and isolated when I first got diagnosed, especially, but in general, it's very lonely and isolating to have a chronic illness of any kind. And when I started talking about it even just a little bit, the response was like so strong of people being like, I thought I was the only one. This makes me feel so much better. And so it kind of, this is so cheesy, but I've heard it before, like, it turned my mess into a message, and I was able to find meaning and purpose in something that had been really limiting and very frustrating for me. And when it came to the endometriosis, I kind of kept it from you guys for a really long time because I didn't know what it was. All I knew was that I had infertility, and I was feeling so vulnerable about that. Like, I truly didn't know how to talk about it in a way that acknowledged my privilege, right? Because at the end of the day, like, there are options for me where I could still have a family that are not available to everyone, but also protected my internal peace, my boundaries, because I know anytime I talk about anything on the internet, it's inviting criticism, it's inviting unsolicited advice and opinions. And there was a time when I was in a really dark place with my infertility where I didn't want to talk to anyone about it. I talked to like 2 friends, and that was it. And I got very upset if anyone would bring it up with me. And I just knew internally I needed time before I was able to talk about it with anyone. But now that I've had that time to process and accept and grieve my own feelings, and especially because there's an explanation now too, like before, if I had talked about it, it wouldn't have been like, just like, yeah, this is happening. We don't know anything. We don't know why. We don't know if there's anything we can do about it, which is true. For literally a third of people going through infertility, it's unexplained, which means they have no idea why you can't get pregnant. And we don't know. We don't know for certain that I have endometriosis until we go in there, and we don't know that cutting it out is going to fix the problem, or it's just very likely. So there's still a lot of vulnerability in that too, of course. But when I was kind of going through this diagnosis process and learning more about what was going on with me and what endometriosis was, I also learned that it affects about 10% of people with uteruses, which is crazy if you think about it. That means every time you're with 10 other people with a uterus, at least one of them, at least, this is an underestimate, is suffering from debilitating pain at least some of the time every month. And they're dealing with that pain, and their doctors are often, very often, telling them it's normal. Well, it is common, but it is not normal. And that's a really important distinction, because we end up getting gaslit by dozens of medical professionals telling us, well, cramps hurt, like take an ibuprofen. For a long time, I thought I couldn't possibly have endo because from my understanding of it, you were throwing up from the pain. Like, it was unbearable. And it is getting there. It is getting more and more unbearable. But truly, if you have to miss a couple days of work because of your cramps and your pain around that time of month, that means you may, I'm not a doctor, you may have endo. So it's really underdiagnosed. And I learned that a lot of people, it takes 7 to 10 years on average to get a diagnosis. It's been 20 years for me, like literally 20 years of telling people that I am in this pain, medical professionals, and them saying, no, that's normal, take an ibuprofen. And a big part of why I felt brave enough to advocate for myself and say, no, this is not normal, you need to do something, was because I saw other people talking about it online and had internet friends tell me, like, no, you can't get that diagnosis of not having it from an MRI or an ultrasound. They can't see it. So I had to have other people empowering me to be brave enough to talk to my doctor and advocate for myself in a situation where you're like crazy vulnerable. Like, it's such a vulnerable place to be, to try to be like, no, I know you're the medical professional, but I know better, and try to push. Like, that's hard to do in any situation, but especially when it comes to something so intimate. In talking about it more online, I'm hoping that even though this is a gardening channel, I am a real person talking to real people who are probably going through similar things to me. And in talking about it, if I can help somebody else not go through this for as long as I went through it before they get answers, like, that will make it so much more worth, like, the suffering that I've gone through. And I think that having a purpose to my work means more than just teaching you how to grow food. I want to connect with you, and I want you to see my human vulnerabilities in a way that inspires you to examine yours and to share yours more if you want to. So that's why I'm talking about my chronic pain stuff a little bit more on here. I think there's a million gardening channels out there that are doing amazing work teaching you how to grow plants. And I never wanted this to just be a how-to channel, which I know is going to make this less appealing to some people, but hopefully more appealing to the people who really should be in my community, because I want this to be a long-term thing. I want to be here with you guys for the long haul, talking about hard stuff, learning and growing together mentally and in the garden. Oh my gosh, we're making a huge mess. We'll have to weigh it at the end. Actually, I'll show you guys at the end and then I'll have you guess. You guys can guess how much it actually weighs. Maybe I'll reveal it in the community tab, if that makes sense. This actually isn't too bad, like, especially having it hung up. I feel like if I took it down and I was like digging through it, I would feel much more overwhelmed. Even though I am making a mess, I'm trying to just have tunnel vision to the mess and just focus on the sensation. It smells amazing. I wish you could smell it. It's a very medicinal smell. It's very crunchy, and I just feel like doing tasks like this is such a great way to like bring me into the present moment when I'm feeling stressed and anxious. I love doing stuff like this. I won't be able to do stuff like this for a little while. I need like book recommendations, you guys, show recommendations. I really like to read fiction, and I don't like anything scary for shows. Probably lighthearted comedy would be best, or something really cinematically beautiful. My favorite shows that I watch over and over again are Parks and Rec and Schitt's Creek. Schitt's Creek will definitely be on the surgery recovery rotation because it's just such a comfort show for me. And these herbs have actually been in direct sunlight while they were drying, which is not great, but they held the green color. Usually when you dry herbs in direct sunlight, they completely, like, it sucks the life out of them and you lose a lot of like the green color that they normally have. One thing that's really weird to me, and this has happened like multiple times throughout my life, is like this plant, mugwort, grows rampant, like it, and I hate it. Like, I have been so frustrated because it takes over sections of my garden and it's really hard to contain it. But finally I was like, you know, I'm not a very spiritual, magical person, but I do believe like the plants are here for a reason. So eventually I was just like, well, why is the mugwort here? Like, what does mugwort do? How does it help? Turns out it's specifically helpful for issues like endometriosis. I was just kind of like shocked when I realized that, like, oh, maybe if you believe in that sort of thing, the garden was trying to tell me something all along. And I had just been ignoring it. I was just battling it like a weed instead of considering why it was there in the first place. It's probably like a, oh, I totally should have seen that coming. Wow, it's really potent. I think I'm gonna stop there. I think that's plenty. I'm gonna weigh it. You guys can guess how much it weighs. One thing that's really interesting about mugwort, which I have found to be true, is that even just handling it this way can give you really vivid dreams. So I'm really interested. We'll see. Maybe I'll report back and let you know if I had any wild dreams. I'm excited to have that done. That's been kind of haunting me a little bit. And now I can just jar it up and we'll be good to go. But thank you so much for listening and gardening with me. And I will see you next time.